Welcome in to a ruby red welcome to part 29. I'm straight back from holes, straight in to getting our vinyl trim painted, because good news for 29. Look what we got the paint in. That's the vinyl coat. We've got our bushes in stock. We've got some vinyl coat in rattle cans as well, so we can do that. So we're straight in on this part. Our axle's completed with its last coat, so that's happy. I've put on a couple of coats now of the vinyl, coat onto this black, which was originally black brick weave. You can just see at the bottom here that we're the black, because that bit was crinkled, didn't paint that bit, it's going to get trimmed off. So we need to do enough of this to cover the back seats and the two front seats, not very much, of about 4 meters worth. So I'll cut another strip and we hang it up on the handy coat hooks under tension there, so it just stretches out the top, and I can get my gun in, mask on because it's quite acrid stuff, fan running, and we leave it for an hour. Another coat goes on, then we get out of the unit because the whole place gets filled with dust, cover up anything that's being painted, and on we go to get this trim ready. Then we get it off with a package off to the trimmers, so we can start doing some good things in this episode. We can put the clip together. We're going to get some springs arriving soon and some shock absorbers, and I've got everything for this clip under here. Okay, and then we can put the axle and parts and ancillaries back on, and we'll take this lid off here, get these nuts, the paint ground shot blasted off those, and that powder coated, and I'll start building the brake lines up and the end of those. Okay, here we go. Yeah, and we'll start building the axle up now. It's all ready and shiny and nice. The end diff cover isn't covered. Diff cover not covered. More double words, because it gets powder coated. I could have just carried on with this paint, but I'm so used to taking them off and getting them powder coated. I don't know, it's just the way it was. So we can start building that one up. Gearbox still hiding away under the sheets. So here we go. Let's get on and get some paint done. There's plenty of little individual things to finish off and paint. The rest of the door cards to do, and all sorts of stuff for the trim, and we'll see what part 29 brings. I've no idea at the moment. I'm just going to let it unravel. See you in a sec. Okay, just switching jobs again, between jobs all the time. It's now axle rebuild time. The poly bushes have arrived, so we insert the poly bushes into their appropriate locations. Quite a nice tight fit, those ones. I'm a bit concerned that about the thickness of the rubber on the end of these. You get to see whether that's going to go between the chassis. We'll see. We've got our nice nuts and bolts in there now. The nice Galvo bolts have gone in, a pair for there, a pair for there, and down at the bottom on the lower arms. Just use the air gun and a 19 spanner to nip them up. Now, you don't fit these tight, you wait till the axle's on the car. So I'll slacken these off when the axle goes on the car. It just lets the arms settle into the right positions, and then you nip them up when the load is on the car. That's the idea behind those. So arms on and looking good. Okay, so just used the 19mm spanners. I used a doggy spanner there, dogleg spanner there, swan neck spanner if you want to call it. 19 swan, makes life easy on the swan on that side, and an open-ended just to get in near the pig's nose axle casing, or the pig's head. That's the piggy's head, there's the piggy's head. So we're doing that, and we're going to work on diff covers off. We need to clean out some old oil out of here. It's not the cleanest oil. Looking at any crazy wear on the crown and pinions, but looking alright. Do you want to have a look at the wear for yourselves? It looks alright, it's nothing crazy, but needs that a bit of a gunk clean out in there. Looks like it's never had a change on the diff oil, so we'll flush that by just using some gunk, degrease, and then we'll put real hypoid back in it, then drop it and put another load of hypoid back in. We've got the drain plug out, and I did have a tub under there. Get that tub back in. It's just catching the last of the oil that we've drained out of the axle. Alright, so last of the oil going out of there. Take it over. Okay, so axle rebuild between jobs. I've sprayed up some material. Here's my spray board. We pinned it to that, and that's looking good. I'll show you that later. So the brick weave vinyl coated in, some sample swatches just over here. Sample swatches of the brick weave are knocking about. That's our side trim. There's my stapler for stapling it up. Interestingly enough, the Ford book's finished in ruby. The Ford service literature book is finished in ruby. There's the rest of the. Here's our swatches. We've got, hold on, I'll bring them into your view. We have test swatches going on. This was one I did. You can see where I've managed to rub it off. That was done with just one coat and not left to dry, but now that it's dried overnight I can't do the same action and get it off, so it's actually penetrated. It doesn't crack when you bend it and you stretch it. It'll take all sorts of abuse. So vinyl coat dye, it's actually a dye as opposed to a paint, so that's working out well. That's got a bit of lacquer on it. We won't use lacquer. You've just got to make sure when you put the vinyl coat on that you get the gun to hit it right, so that you get the silk effect. Otherwise you can get a dry patch where it mats over, so be wary of that. Just practice your technique. But the colour schemes are in, and our two tones. There's actually a triple tone. Would you believe that we've got the carpet to do the rest of the another 2 meters? Would you believe I've not got any of this? I thought I had some, so I've had to order some from Mk3. I thought I had more than I did. I just had about a metre of it. Continuing on then, going to have a quick clean up, and we'll move on to more of the axle work, and waiting for some springs to arrive and the shock absorbers for the front clip. We'll start working on that. Guys, I didn't like the look of those arms, or rather I found a better set of trailing arms with a very nice stamping on the top. My ones didn't have the stamping as clearly defined, and they were quite pitted. Let's have a look at the pitting on them. You'll just see, look, there's some pitting on there. Now okay, they're not bad, but I prefer these. So we'll just put the bush extractor back on. I found a better way if you want to do this at home. Saves a lot of messing around. If you use an impact hammer air power, or you can use a battery powered impact, but it just brings it out quicker with a bush extraction tool with a shock aspect of it. Give it a little tap to help it on the way with a hammer as well, but you'll find it's a lot quicker if you're using an air impact drive to get the bushes out. We'll do one more from fresh and just see how easy they are with the air impact. So there's another good arm as well. Now they haven't got the anti-roll bar, rear anti-roll bar holes, but we'll take the measurements off the originals. I just like these arms better. So when I put the axle together, and we're on with it, as you can see, that arm's alright. This one's a bit pitted, but these ones I just felt a bit uncomfortable. I can do better. So the opportunity arose with these off the Portuguese two-door, and they've not had any serious weather on them, so why not use them? So I'll get them repowder coated. It's a little delay, but we're not in any rush with the axle, so we're okay. So let's just get the other bushes out now with the air impact. Saves a lot of time. Into reverse. Let's do the next one. Okay, let's take you through into the smaller workshop to show you a few lovely surprises that's been going on between jobs. Well, we've got the 2-pack paint out and we're just mocking up the steering wheel. So we took the ruby steering wheel and we scotch padded it down, put some filler in any of the chips marks that were on it, and then we gave it a gloss of a coat of 2-pack mixed especially for ruby. Okay, we had to wear the mask for that because of the 2-pack activator, which was dangerous stuff. It's got cyanide in it, so you've got to be real careful. That's our wooden inlay that we had refurbed, and just over there's our steering wheel insert, which has been re-chromed. I'll show you how that worked in a minute. So we're ready to assemble that wheel and box it off. That's curing at the moment, so we'll leave that well alone. Over here we've got our beautiful early series 1 air filter cover, which has had the colour bond paint over it. We scotch padded it down, very liquid, washing machine, dishwasher, the lot, every nook and cranny that we went into there, toothbrush in, then scotch pad down just to smooth it over, and then we go over with colour bond. That's a RAL 5010. Now when I say RAL, that's a code used for identifying the colour of your paint. So in our case there's what's called a RAL chart, R-A-L, and it has all different codes, colours of the spectrum. You find out what's the good match and then you get the paint tin mixed. This is RAL 5010. There's a name for it, Caspian blue, not something blue it's called, I forget now, I did know it off by heart. RAL 5010 corresponds with a shade of blue. Now there's a different school of thought out on air filter boxes. You can go a shade darker if you want, but my rocker cover and cam cover's in RAL 5010, which is slightly lighter than other air filters that I've seen. But I have seen some that are slightly lighter. It's difficult to tell, but 5010 gives a good colour. But train spotters might be disagreeing with me on that shade of blue for the air filter box. But I like it. It works for me. Now with the colour bond paint, it's a special paint which chemically bonds to plastic, in this case injection moulded. Here it is, you've got to just order it from Colour Bond there, see? They're the boys to trust, or the girls, because the 2 girls, Val and Anne, on the desk. They're the most helpful people I've ever dealt with. They just help with you. Really good customer service from Technispray. So look at that, Technispray paints in Birmingham, UK. They'll do all your different types of paint to do with plastics. So they helped us with this RAL 5010 for the air cleaner lid, and then we'll do the body as well, and the metal nose cone pickup off the exhaust. That needs making nice and doing in high temp paint. So there you can see the centre console, which was also done in Colour Bond, but with a special code mixed for me. So not a RAL code, although there probably is a RAL number issued for it, which could help if anyone's doing a ruby restoration. They might want to take the code off me. I'll find it off one of the tins. So that was done, and that keys in nicely to the plastic. I then went over with satin black for the inlay, cubbyhole tray, and those 2 vertical black stripes there. So that was done a while ago, so nothing new on that. But if we go over to the bench here, we'll see the steering wheel I used for research and development on the 2-pack to make sure that it adhered properly before I used my final wheel. I've got 2 ruby wheels, but it's great stuff. It really sticks to the wheel nicely. Just let me hang that up. That's not needed now. So over here we've got some of the experimental stuff that we did when trying out the centre boss. This was a complete overcoat of the vinyl or colour bond paint. It does not come off, so we needed to test that out. That can get reused for something else, it's not wasted. Here's one which is the final one. This is totally overchromed, so that goes away to the chroming company. They're down in Essex, the chroming company that do that. In fact no, they're down in Birmingham. What am I on about? I'll put a link up to the end at the end of the page for those. You send those away. They've got to be prepped, so you couldn't send it like that. It's got to be back to its bare plastic for it to work. So this would have to have been stripped. This one was stripped and sent away. It comes back fully chromed. But on Ford, they only chromed the inner lip on these, right? But the process is to chrome the whole lot, then overpaint and leave the inner lip exposed, which is exactly what I did, because you can't actually get the chroming guys to just chrome that lip. They have to just do the whole lot, because you can't mask off in the special, it's called vacuum metallizing, and if you use masking tape in the machine, it burns off. So you have to just do the entire part. So whilst that was being done, we also did the clocks, which you remember me stripping them on earlier film, and there they are, ready to be masked and painted, looking quite nice. I'm sure that you'll agree. So we did that, but we also did the centre console pod. I'll bring it into light now for you, coming in, and that's got the chrome bezels on the end of the pods there, and then just an edge of chrome at the side, so that had to be masked and done. That'll look nice when it's on. So that's done. Also, while we're on, we did the cigarette inlay, ashtray inlays. They were chromed, so again fully over chromed, then you overpaint. So that was done. This one's being prepped, ready to go off, coming into your screen now. They actually, I only sent one by accident. I should have sent this one off, or if one got lost somehow, we don't know, but I've had to prep one up. So you can see I've took the old chrome off. See how Ford completely over chromed it? That's Ford's chrome there. Totally over chromed, then Ford just colour coded it in. So you do the same, completely chrome it and then paint this area. You can mask over the silver just about. It's hit and miss, so don't complain if I said you can do it and it peels off your chrome. It's very risky. When I put masking tape onto this steering wheel boss now, you run the risk of pulling off the chrome. I use detailing tape. This is detailing tape. It's a low tack tape. It's the best I could get away with. And then I go round the edge and mask off. But it's a risky business and very expensive. That's the only downside with the chroming process. You've really got to be wanting to do a concourse job to justify the cost of it. It isn't cheap. Here's one I did as well as a sample. This is for my green GXL that's going to go on. Whilst I had the chance to send the chroming away, I thought I'd redo that one. So that is a bit easier to do because this type, later type, detaches off the middle, and you can just overchrome the whole lot, and there's no painting needed on that. I'll get you the boss so you can see how it works. There's the boss that sits in there. So that gives us a nice one for my GXL if I wanted to use it, or if I colour coded that in Marquis Blue, that could be Swampy's new centre boss, because Swampy's isn't as glossy and actually hasn't got the chrome on. So we could upgrade Swampy if we wanted with that one. Once we've painted that black there in Marquis, again we'd have to get a colour bond rattle can mixed for the Marquis. We'd get a RAL code for that and do it. Here's our ruby paint tin, just spotted, if you want to get the code. So Macro Fan MS Fast Top Coat 449381 light purple brown. That's what we've been using. It's and it isn't a colour bond paint, that's the 2-pack pot. Now the 2-pack pot was matched with swatches to the wheel, whereas with colour bond Technispray, they used a swatch and a spectrometer to match it based upon a sample that I sent in. So there could possibly be a difference in colour between the 2-pack paint and the plastic coat paint that I've been using, and maybe a shade difference, but there's not much you can do because you're going to lose out when you're sending things off. A swatch is done by eye, whereas Technispray would use their spectrometer. So there's the colour difference. You'll see it's slightly darker. Also, 2-pack goes on differently. Colour bond is very, very fine covering, and you need a few coats to get it right. Even the same with the vinyl coat that I've been using. Colour bond and vinyl coat are different materials. Vinyl coats for vinyl material specifically, colour bonds for plastics, hard plastics. So you do get a slight different finish on it, which makes it, you can get a shade difference. Now that doesn't matter. This is the reason it's not going to matter. Let's just explain what I mean. Let's get this pod. Just bear with me while we go through this little procedure. Here's the pod that we did. Satin on the inside face of the dials, by the way, guys. That pod sits in there. So you'll see it's got a glossier finish on it because 2-pack lies differently than the others, but it doesn't matter because the dashboard is finished in 2-pack on the metal part of the dash. As we come up now, we start to hit the metal part of the dash, and that's as glossy as this, so that's going to flow nicely into the dash itself. So really the dash is coming down with its gloss and then going matte as it hits it, which will work. I don't know if you can actually matte finish the 2-pack. That's another possibility that I could have done. Okay, but I think that's going to work. We're okay with that. Perhaps the next time if I ever did it, I would put a matting agent in the 2-pack paint, perhaps, if that's at all possible. You're not going to get away with a different finish. I couldn't use colour bond on the centre pod because it's totally over-chromed, and colour bond won't key to the chrome. It breaks off too easy. That's what we found out when we tested it. So 2-pack works better keying into the chrome, because all that under there is chrome. There's no way you can just ask them to just do the bezel edges, as I said. So you've got to just mask and paint yourself. So you end up with a slightly different shade, and a non-factory matte finish that wouldn't be that glossy. We're going to have to live with it because it's how far you can go. I'm happy with the result and the fact it's a slightly custom car, and it's going to flow into the dash nicely whilst not looking out of place and not looking non-factory. I don't think that's going to be a problem at all, but it's something that I noticed. Steering wheel, as I said, steering wheel's done, and there's the centre boss over painted, leaving that chrome in the middle. This one's just a test one. We'll be discarding that. I won't be using that one. It was just to test the principle. We'll use that one that's on the bench. Actually, there's no reason why I can't use this, to be fair, because it's worked. We weren't expecting it to. I did this in case it peeled off the chrome, but it didn't actually peel the chrome off, so that one's actually survived. So could get used. The finish on the rim of the wheels come up very, very nicely indeed. Just be very careful with your coats so you don't get any runs. There's no runs at all on the entire wheel. I was quite pleased with that paint that I did on that. So I'm not really a fantastic painter, but I'm getting better. So I'm really pleased with the way that the steering wheel worked out. So that's what we did with her. We're going to let that cure for a few days before we handle it anymore. And now I'm going to switch to another job. I'm going to switch to making up the brake pipes on the axle. So let's go into the workshop and make up a brake pipe. See you in a bit. Okay, now I haven't got my clip-on lamp, the LED lamp. I've left it at home, so I'm going to have to just accept some slightly lower exposures here whilst I go in and try and show you my brake flaring tool. This is a Sykes picker vamp tool. It's a pretty good one. It consists of a die which you insert the pipe into and lock in, and then there's a punch tool at the end, and you push your arm out, it clamps the pipe here, and then this shape here pushes into the end of the pipe. With it being clamped, it crushes out the end of the pipe and makes the fitting that you need. So we're going to show you one that we did to test before we do the final run. Here's one I just did, reaching down, bringing it up to the light for you. There we go. So that's what it does. It makes that end finish like that. So we're going to make the pipe run. Here it is. We're going to copy. See that in the middle of the screen, just that pipe run there. That's the original brake pipe. So we're going to copy that, and that goes across onto our axle here. And here in the screen's my Cupra nickel pipe. It's better stuff than copper, Cupro. So we've got a pack of it there, and we're just going to offer it up to this brake line and copy the exact length of that brake line there. So what I'll do first, unravel out of the pack, get the approximate length of that, then we'll cut it with our brake pipe cutter, or our pipe cutter, just the usual plumber's cutter there. So I'm going to measure a piece out, then we'll flare both ends, put the fittings on, flare both ends. Fittings have to go on first, but at least one does. At least one, they both have to go on before the second punch or you'll not get it on. It's best putting each end on first because I'm going to be shaping the pipe. Right, time to cut. Let's get that pipe measured. That pipe cutter just clamps onto the Cube Pro and you rotate round and it just cuts through. You slowly increase the tension as you rotate it and it cuts through nicely. You always use one of them, don't use hacksaw. Okay, just gives a neater cut and it's easy to put the fittings on. The hacksaw leaves a lot of burrs and mess. So we slide the fittings on, straighten the pipe a little bit to get that onto there, but put both ends on, then we'll shape that once we've done the flaring. We'll do the flaring first because if you shape it now you can't get it into the die. So I will just double check this length's right. I've overcut slightly, I think, just in case I was wrong, and then I'm going to do one final cut. So I'll now offer it up against the original axle pipe, which was a very good one, and copy the length, then I'll flare it. Okay, I'm happy with the length of that piece of Cube Pro nickel. So I've slid on the male fittings and now we're going to place it into the flaring tool just in here like this, and we get the die. I'll show you the die now. Die's just up here. Onto the bench for the die. There's our die. So down to the units we go. Sorry for low lighting now, just apologise for that. We place the die into the machine, then I'll be placing the pipe into the little cavity which that creates, like this. Now I'll have to switch off the camera while I do this, but what's going to happen, it's going to clamp that, and then that punch tool, it just comes flush with the end here, end of the die, and then we pull on that lever once and then push again and it'll flare it. Okay, show you what the end result's going to be like. Here we go. Okay, so we're flared at both ends, and you can see how that makes that. Let's see if you can get it on camera. You usually can't when we go close up. Some days it works, some days not, but that end's flared, and now we can offer it up to the axle. We've already put on the nice new brake cylinders here, so they're bolted on and ready to go. We've just got to work out which hole this pipe goes in. It doesn't really matter, you've got to have a bleed. One's an input to the brakes, then it comes out, goes across to the other cylinder, then the final hole's the bleed nipple. So I've got to try and recall from memory which is input and output, but for now we can just get the pipe in looking in roughly the right place and get it laying in the clips. We haven't got the diff cover back yet, so we can't actually attach all this up. We're waiting for a diff gasket to come and the diff cover to get powder coated, so we'll just mock up for now. We won't lock it in permanently, so we're just going to offer this up and get the shape something like. Okay, so leave that with me. Memory's coming back because of this bracket here which holds the flexi hose to the body. We know that that's the output of the brake line, so it's got to be this side that it comes into the cylinder first. So we're going in, then we're coming out on that top one. So in on where that nipple is at the moment, that comes out on the top one, then across, I believe, then the bleed nipple on that side, okay, which is the driver's side. So it should be on all Cortinas, bleed nipple should be a driver's side. Output in here on the flexi going across. Okay, so we know what to do with that. It's going in the top one. Let's fit it. Okay, all on. So in, bleed nipple there, that's that side. Along we go in a nice line, curving up, nicely clipped into the diff casing. I brought it back out the back of the car. It's due for powder coat, but I just pinched it back out of the car. Across that clip, and back to there. Then our input this side. So we need a small one now making up from here, which then connects across with a female end to connect into the male flexi pipe, which will fit as well and have that ready and hooked up and ready, so we can just bolt onto the car with a flexi pipe. So that's the route. I'd like to have got a more acute angle on this. There's no problem doing it that way, it's just I like to get the angles like they've been made on a machine, but I just gently bent that. I'm sure you can get a device that will give you a better, more acute curves. I know it's a pipe bender, a small version. I'll keep my eyes out for one of those, but I can always just put them in. There's a little bit of clearance to do it. So pipe on, and the axle's good on this trestles because you can just move it around as you need. So we'll now take that cover off again, put it back in the car, and that's it just for this section. I'll start doing this flexi pipe next. Okay, let's go. Okay, just rebuilding the brakes. You'll be pleased to know I'm on a new camera, another Panasonic. The other one's still running alright, but we just had an opportunity come up to get one at good price, so we've got a new camera. Brakes put back together, just got to take half shafts out later on, and we'll give them a galv at the end. We'll just do that later. First, we just wanted to mock the brakes up and get them all running as we wanted. New brake cylinder on there. Those galvanised springs, so you can see how this assembles. You've got the automatic handbrake adjuster ratchet mechanism in place. These two push down springs here, they can be tricky. Just make sure your pins are seated at the back of the disc and you've no paint building them up, because they're quite critical. Too short on them posts and you can't compress that spring and put a little collar on it. They can be tricky. Springs on there, so them shoes are on. So that's the brakes for that side of the axle. The brake pipes themselves, I left you off doing those. Got the routing through. We've put a bit of silicone tubing here, slightly longer than the Ford piece, just covering it across on those axle points, and then the pipe working its way down to the end. We've yet to build the brake pads up for the back, those two trailing arms there. I mentioned I didn't like the original arms, so I got some new ones. These were lucky off the Portuguese car with a nice stamp code in them, come up good. So we'll be refitting those. We'll take those other arms off and get these better ones on. I'll be happier with that because the quality's a lot better on these. They were virtually pit free, so that's good. Also, while we're on, we are starting to put bits on the clip, bit by bit on the clip. Just mocking up where everything goes, digging out the bolts, and just loosely assembling everything, getting ready for the hard part, which is the springs. So just got that assembled. We've greased every point up, every bolt's been greased as it's gone on. There's your ball joints, top and bottom, they've all been greased and packed in. Just about to put the ball joints on the top here. We're ready. Here's our new ball joint, ready to go. So we're just going to put plenty of grease on. This is just bare metal, there's no paint comes on these, so just to protect it I coat that in some grease there, and then we place that just underneath the top wishbone, that way round. Loads of grease on there, pop it up 13 mils, and we ratchet that up. Same on the bottom, but we leave these front two for the tie bar connections. So just bit by bit I go along and assemble that clip, waiting for a few other parts to come back, but we're looking good so far. Axle, I'm just waiting for some bushes. The Superflex ones are good apart from the ones that fit on the axle themselves. Very tight fit, so I'm just not going to put them on. I'm just going to investigate some other types of bushes. The Superflex ones are really tight. I wasn't too pleased or confident about them. They're good in some places. They're alright here on the wishbone tops. They're a bit tight on the wishbone bottoms, but they do go. I just filed the collar a little bit because I've got to drop this arm later. They're good on the axle, pretty much a nice fit on the axle at the top. I don't know about here, this looks a bit wide to me. I'm going to take an arm off and take it home on one of the chassis I've got cut up and see if that fits, because that fits between your chassis leg. I don't like the look of it, it looks a bit wide. Some are okay, so it's a mixed bag really when it comes to the Polyflex. There's an argument out that says have some original Ford rubber on your body side attachment, so we might look into that. But the ones that I've got so far I'll be staying on. Rest of the brake kit is over here, so I've got my brake rebuild kit. Here's our nicely built up unit, greased handbrake adjuster. You can see how the galvanised parts really set it all off, and the rest of the brake build parts are all ready to go on, so that when brake shoes are all fitted. It just looks nice and all original. We'll clean this up, don't worry about that half shaft, we didn't want to be messing with that just yet. We'll get a half shaft puller, pull that out, blast the end of it. Oh, it's already blasted actually. Just get that painted up or coated. We'll see what we want to do with the end of that. It's all covered in, that one, but we might just paint the end of that in a satin finish. I'm not too worried about the half shaft ends, to be fair. I just wanted the working mechanisms greased up and running. I've put grease on the friction points of the pads and just where they touch the cylinder. Okay, so we've done all that. So we're going to call it a day just for this little bit. So all going okay for this part of the film. Little bits and pieces all the time, adding up the stuff coming in as well. I'm trying to think what else has come in. A few more powder coating bits. We've got the flaps for the heater control box, so we can start putting that back together. Somewhere in here will be the little flaps for that as the rest of the arms. They are around somewhere. Some springs. There's the heater flap getting ready to go. Alright, so we'll keep on going. We'll keep on rocking. Let's get some bolts on this wishbone. Okay, it's getting the grease ready, coming into your view now. So top of that to grease up. Plenty in the middle and round we go. Just to stop that rusting. And yes, I got another cold. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. Right. Just don't want that rusting in that, a bit of a water trap in there. Yeah, there is a bit of a water trap just inside the top of this. So, good idea to get that in. So offer that up. Quite simply a case of dropping the bolts through. Good fun building these up. I can just get a nut and washer. I go bolt head down from the top and then opposite on the other side facing inwards. Okay, greasing the bolts as I go. You're off screen, me greasing the bolts, but just dipping them in. Washer and another nut, 13s. All good fun building your clip back up. All shiny bits, you see. This makes life easier. One more bolt, washer and nuts. And then we'll get the air ratchet on this with a 13, lock it with a 13, go in with the air ratchet. It's a lot easier, saves time, and I can push back the whole assembly to help you see how things are going. I'm going to reach down now, lock on the air line. I was a bit short on the tube there. Hold on, I'm going to extend the tube. Back in a sec. Right, we're back, and I can just angle that down. I think you can see at home. Spanner on. And that's that one. Okay, bring this up. So we've got those two. Obviously we've got a, well, not obviously, but we may have to drop that arm down when we put the spring on, simply the way that it works with a spring compressor. This has got to come in parallel. But I just wanted to make sure I started assembling all my nuts and bolts there. Get these out of the way, put them on. We've got, coming over off screen, we've got the stub coming into view now for our stub. Track rod end connection goes at the bottom, so these just drop in. I'm going to be taking this back off after anyway, but I just wanted to lay everything out, make sure I'm not missing any bits. Grease on the ball joint. Just throw that nut on. They have an Allen key to lock the inside of that so it doesn't rotate within the bushing. Bit of grease there just so we don't forget. We've done all our grease points. Good fun. Top ball joint coming in. That locks together there. Like will in a sec once the angle's right. That's it. Just put that nut on. You're just off screen there, but it's all going very nice. And that's it. I'll just wipe down that excess grease. I'll leave that bit for now. As I say, I'm just making sure I've got everything that I need. I'm not missing any parts, and then starting to mock it all up. So there we have it. We may move on to another task in a minute, but I just wanted to, as I say, just start assembling all the bits in one place. Start seeing where we're headed. Okay, making some progress on the clip now. Spring is now in, hub carrier's on there. Sorry, not hub carrier, the stub axle's on. Just give that a clean up there so it's nice and smooth and clean. It just been caught a bit the shot blast, but it's not as bad as I thought. So nice and smooth. There was some rust on that stub. We've got that off. Okay, so the stub axle there, here's the spring, fully under tension. That was nerve-wracking. I'll take you through what we did to get the spring on. As I think you saw me put those top bolts on with those new poly bushes. We've got the tie bar just mocking up here. Okay, so what do we do to get the spring on? Well, I built this little unit down here. Now you can make one at home if you want. We'll talk you through it right now. This is, instead of using those two sort of claw shaped spring compressors which you can normally buy to get your spring in position, we use this crude but effective spring compressor. A piece of box section there, then the remains of the actual machine marked claws. They come in a pair. This is just one of them, so I've chopped that up. We don't use the claw anymore because they slip off. They're dangerous when you try and get your spring compressor claws on the edge here. They're hard to get out between the wishbones. They're very dangerous things to use if you're using cheap quality ones. At least the machine marked ones aren't the best. They're all right, but Cortina springs especially, there's a hell of a lot of tension in these. So the idea would have been normally you get your claw on, squash it, get that feed it into there and let it go out, but you find that you struggle with all these gaps trying to get sockets and stuff in, and it just, I've seen them and I've heard about them pinging off. So what a lot of people use is a spring compressor tool like this one, or not like this one, but this is the same idea. Piece of box section, the remains of the spring compressor bolt is in there, but you could use some high tensile bolt with a nut. I just chopped up what I had in the workshop, so that's the end of the original claw. The bolt from the claw is actually inside this piece of tube, and it's all been welded round. And then a base plate here, which is, I'll show you how that goes in a minute, and then a bit of tube at the top. What happens with this is, once tidying up this, by the way, forgive me for it being a bit crude, but it's, the welds are in. Don't worry, I wouldn't put blobby welds on, because if it broke you'd be in a lot of trouble. That goes up and bolts where the shock absorber bolt would normally go through, and you insert it through the bottom of through the interior of the spring. You have the bottom wishbone unbolted, so this tapping it there, look, that wouldn't be on. and the wishbone bottom is just floating. Put that up. Then I use the air ratchet, but you just use a spanner, but it's quicker with an air ratchet. And as you screw this thread round, it pulls the bottom wishbone up and starts to compress the spring and gets it enough so that you can get the stub on. So that just crushes the spring internally as opposed to externally with the claw type ones. If you're building one, then make it strong. If you do a mistake on that and it snaps, you're going to have a spring flying out the bottom of here with a hell of a lot of force. And even when you do use your compression tool, stand to the side so that if it ejects out, it's going to go flying straight down. I'd advise steel toe cap boots and some goggles when you do it, in case it rebounds. At least the goggles are going to give you some protection if anything flies off. But it is nerve-wracking when you do it. We'll film the other side getting done so you can see it in action. But that was that. So we'll go back to that later. Just for the time being, I'm just getting ready the stub axle, the bearing carrier now, which was galvanised. I left the bearing races in it. These are a press fit. I left them in it so that they wouldn't galvanise the fitting of the face. Your wheel bearing kit coming into view now comes with new race. So they're a press fit. We've got to tap them back in. To get these ones out, I just used a flat blade and tapped opposite sides. Came out quite easy. Tap that side, then that side, spin it, tap, tap. These will come out. 2 races. So you change them when you change your bearing, because they come all as a pair. So we need to tap in the new races once we've just cleaned any debris out of there that's fallen into the hole where it would go. So we're going to tap those in home so that they're done, and then I'll take you round and we're just mocking up everything really. I'm really refreshing my memory because it's amazing how much, I mean, I've done this before but a couple of years ago and I've forgotten how everything goes, so just going through it all. I thought that the shot blaster had caught this, but they haven't. So I've just gone over that with some sandpaper 1000, get it smooth. So what I'll do, I'll tap in these bearing races now, and then I've got a brake backing plate to fit on there. I'm just putting all my bits so I know I've got everything, and then I'll start finalising things. There's some split pins to fit at the top. I copper slip these bolts so they go in nice. They're always easy to get out and they don't seize in the future. So on with the clip, that's what we're up to. Okay, just tapping in the new races there. Picked a socket that was a good diameter match and evenly tap round. The new race goes in. Same on the other side for the new race with a even larger socket, and in we went. So they're flush, they're press fit, so you got your new surface for the bearing to roll into. That just sits there, that's the front. We'll be packing them out with the grease that's supplied, so they're all nicely mated up and you've got a good wheel bearing surface, no scoring on those races, nice and new. So we do that. Then there's a seal here, fits at the back, rubber seal to hold everything together, and the whole assembly goes onto the stub. We just tap that in evenly as well and pack out with plenty of grease that's supplied. That hub's then ready to slide on, that carrier is then ready to slide on. So that's that little job. 2 new races in the carrier. You might notice as well on this valve, this was some of the liquid that was inside one of the master cylinders and it leaked out and it's attacked the valve there. A minor problem, but just in case you picked up on it there. Okay, you can just see that we're laying out the material now for the trimming. I'm just seeing how the triple scheme works. We've got our bolster, we've got our basket weave, brick weave, and we've got our door card. This colour sits just in between the two, which works out nicely. We did have a colour match paint for this, but if you're on a black base, you're never going to get the same finish. So we end up with 3 colours, a mid-range insert, the darker for the rest of the car scheme, and then the lighter bolster colour. So that's pretty good. I like the way that's worked. Right, let's carry on with clip build in this part. So I've just put in nice split pin there, washers are on, castle nuts on, torque those up. We've got the tie bar in, torque those up, bolt straight through into the bottom ball joint, coming up into the top. Cup washers on, and then your flow flex bushes on, cup washer that side, split pin ready to go in. Brake backing disc on, stub greased up ready to receive the wheel bearing there. Obviously we did that spring. Bump stops pushed back in. Steering rack, we've been mocking that up. This is the power steering rack, so it was slightly different fitting to a Mk3 Cortina, but not much. You use that saddle clip that's normally up at this end, I think it is, using a rubber that comes in with the steering rack. So you need the rubber mount that comes with the power steering rack. The Cortina one won't do, so it's a more rounded, this is a tube section as opposed to the oblong Mk3 steering rack, or a regular shaped rack. 13 bolts going in, pulling that saddle down, and at this end 2 more 13s without a rubber mount, straight metal to metal. There's a little dimple on the underside of this that you've got to drill out into here. You can mark it. I put paint on it, laid it in position, let the paint make the mark, then slowly step the drill sizes up till it fitted snug. That stops the rack moving. You've got to just trim a little piece of metal just there, not much, only a few mil off on this lip here. So we'll paint that back in. This is just mocking up, it's coming off. And then the biggest mod, I suppose, is a scallop cut out on the, you can just see the light shining through it there. It's only a small scallop cut out. Again, we paint the edge of that, that's all you need. On that particular rack anyway. I don't know what type it is. It's got 75 stamped on it there, but I'm not sure what it's off. I can't tell you on that one. It's in position anyway, and there's clearance around here where I thought I might have to mod it. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it clears, and this doesn't move, so if that's not hitting it now, it's not going to hit it. There's no flex in this at all. So that's on, and now we're going to start building this side of the clip up. I'll video the spring compressor tool in action, and we'll fix the rest of this side next. We're done there, spinning around. Let's have a look. I don't know if there's anything missing off this side now. We've got the caliper and the rotor, the brake disc to fit. We can adjust that. We're just waiting for the new brake discs to arrive, some Mintex ones. In the meantime, while waiting for that brake disc to arrive, we can get this side looking closer with the rest of these parts that are in the parts bin there. That's our assembly bin, ready to go. So I'm going to set you up on the tripod, and we're going to see the compressor tool. Take you over to the compressor tool, just to show it on the previous clip. There it is. I've marked up safety glasses on because I don't want to forget, and if I lend it to anyone, don't say I didn't warn you. So that's it. A bit of primer on it, a little bit of a clean up on the welds. But we're ready to use that bad boy on here. You can build one at home. So let's get set up on the tripod, and then let's do that nerve-wracking chunky chunk spring compressor. Here we go. Okay, hopefully you can see everything that's going on here. Jim, Gary, let's get this show on the road. Here's our, whoops, here's the beast. So first thing I'm going to do, everyone can hear me, we're going to drop the lower wishbone, undo these, drop that down, got to get that bolt out of there, get that out. These are quite a tight fit into the clip, so we're going to have to lever it out because the bush is quite a tight fit there, especially with them being them flow flex ones. And we've got to tap that in as it goes up. So that's the hardest part, it's just that bit, the lower wishbone pivot point there on the clip. Everything else is pretty much straightforward. So let me wander around the workshop bringing things in. I'll bring everything into view, but you might see me go off screen a little bit as I just grab around for the tools and stuff. So we're going to do it. We're going to start with the 17mm or 19 on there. Put the 19 on and just get that off. 19 and then a swan neck on this side, switch to reverse. Take this off first, at least get the bolt off. Try the other side. Can't quite get the socket into that little recess, so we'll just use the 19 to get in. Looks like we can't get anything on that. That bolt's managed to bury itself a little bit. We're quite tight there. I'm going to go manual. That's the one, we've got it now. I've just got the torque setting turned down on this so it didn't quite loosen that one up. We'll go in again. I'm just going to check that you're on screen. It looks like you are. I can bring you in a bit better. Okay, I have to tap the bolt out now. Hammer time. And now for the hub carrier. Right, I have this loosely assembled, and then we try and get this out. That's the fun part. Well, that wasn't too bad. So with that out, you can now go into stores, get the spring. Okay, so that end of the spring, there's a flattened end that goes at the top, and then that's the curly whirly bit just fits into a recess on the lower part of the arm. So we go in there like that. Time now to place the compressor through the arm. You can see how it fits on the bottom there onto the studs which would mount the shock absorber like this. Bring it up so you can see. There we have it in place. Holding that, putting the spring on. Offer it up. Just got to undo it now. Okay, just had to get the spring pulled back at an angle to get that to fit. That was all I was doing wrong there. It's coming out like that. I was trying to go straight up. So we hold back. There we are. Right, that's that fitted into there. Screw up at the bottom. Hardest part's guiding this into that once it starts to compress. Safety goggles on in case it explodes. And then air ratchet up. It's a scary bit. It's alright the first bit. Just gets scary later on. Starting to get scary now. Oh no, I hate this! It's so scary! You just think it's gonna go, but I can't see any problems yet. I've got to guide that into that bit, I'll make it there. If this fails, where's it gonna land? How good were my welds? I don't know. We can just get a bolt in! Right, we're waiting for this bit to line up into there, and it's on its way, you can see that. Might need a
Stop,
bit of,
yeah, you have to persuade that, stop moving now.
a little bit of persuasion now. There's our persuasion. Now we're looking for that lining up. You could have come in, Rick. We're looking for this. Let's get the light. So we're all compressed here. I'm standing underneath it. Which ain't the wisest thing to be doing. Help me, help me! Tell me when we're good to go. That's why these bolts have got them on the end. The only thing I don't know is if it has a washer on this bolt. I don't think it does because there's nowhere for the washer to fit. How's that?
Yeah, should get it.
Please go in. Oh yeah! Sort of. We're a bit safer now. It can't quite completely blow itself to bits. So hub carriers here, which goes track right end lower down. So there's only one anyway, because I've used the other side. So grease up those track bottom and top ball joints. And then off with the hub up, the hub carrier. That arm should be all the way up. This can drop onto the. Now we can feed this into here. And once we've got the bolts on either end of these, we're safe. So we're going. Just 2 bolts, and we're out of the danger zone. We're out of that danger zone. Suffice to say, I've got safety specs on, just in case anything. Well, still going to injure me, isn't it, if it blows? We've got that one in it. Okay, let's just get just a few threads on, and we're in the safety zone. So that thread has brought that spring together. Luckily, it's fed up into the hole there. We've managed to knock the bolt through. So now, even if the thing broke, it'll pivot on that. It would try and come down here, but I've locked it with the hub carrier, so these are now locked, and you're safe. All I've got to do now is just nip these a little bit, and I think I'm alright there. The other thing is, I can't remember if they're 20s. Just get a spanner for those. Okay, it's always scary though. 22s. And the 22 spanner is hot and about somewhere. Of course, I've been using it. 23 will get them close, just so it starts to get some thread on there. There must be a 22 liner around somewhere. A hot spanner. These have an Allen key in the middle if you need it. It just depends. It doesn't quite pull on the taper. This one has pulled on the taper, so the air socket springs to mind here. This one's spinning. This one will need the Allen key, I think, because these safety specs are a bit misty. I can't see. So we'll give it a pause. I'll get an Allen key on that one, then we can roll it.
Yeah.
So I've locked it with the Allen key there, so we can bring that in. This is just once these are in your safe. They don't all come with Allen keys in the middle. These Quinton Hazel ball joints do. I have seen them without. But you're better off with the Allen key version. Oops. In we go. Somewhere. I've got to be careful of being too quiet, it's going to pick up that song. That's the problem. You know, I've got to go and turn the radio off or keep talking. If I keep talking, the YouTube won't pick the song up. Right, so we're in there. We can now take this off because we're happy. We've got a nut to put on the other side of here. So I mustn't forget to tighten that bolt back up on that lower. So, nothing to stop us taking that off. Double check, double check, double check, double check. Okay, it's out for the compressor, so reverse on the gun. Just in case. That's sheared, that cast. I suppose it could explode. That's it. That's your spring compressor, that's your spring in. You're all done. Alright, well, we're doing good. We've got the brake backing plate on now. 3 lots of 13 head bolts there. As you saw, we successfully got that spring on, so the compressor tool worked good. And our clearances are good on the power steering box. If you look at the bolt line up just there, you can see that unit fits in nice. Okay, so no problem with the clearances there on that model. So power steering rack on, wishbones all together, top and bottom ball joints all on. Hubs greased up ready for the rotors and the bearings and the hub carrier. So stub axle ready to receive the rest of the parts in the goodie tray down there, which sits nicely in the cradle. Wheel around with your bits. The dolly's proved really useful. Just gives you time to clear a space. If you're making any mess, you can clear up as you go, then wheel it back into position for a nice clean working area. So that project was a good payoff. So there we have it, we're getting there now. We've got these tie bars on now. So I wasn't 100% sure whether that flat washer goes that side or the cup washer. There's a cup washer and there's a flat, they come as a pair. I cannot remember if the cup goes on the outside or the inside. I'm going to have to go back and look at some pickies. It's a 50-50 chance. If not, then it's just off with those tie bar bolts and those tie bar big bolts, and just swap them round. So anything else to cover while we're at it? I think we've got everything there for today's filming. So we keep on going and building that up. I think I showed you the axle. We've got the bolts mocked up in position for the top of the cover of the axle, and the brake lines are in, as you saw. Just got to do the brake shoes at that end, and then we just want to tip up the axle this side because there'll be some oil on a level, off level, residing in that tube, so we'll tip it back and drain the rest out, and then we'll label it that it's not filled so we don't forget when the car's running to set off without any oil in that. But we'll fit it empty. It's a heavy little bit of weight when you're fitting your axle, so we'll put a sticker on the back saying not filled, just so we don't forget. Hub drums there, drums fitted. We've got the wheels in. I'll show you the wheels in a sec, and then we're going to draw it to a close for this part. Don't want it to run into a long film, this one. Just give you something to keep you going before March finishes. We're approaching April now, isn't it going quick, everybody? My completion date's going to be around August, I would have thought. Hopefully if things go to plan at the body shop. But there's always more than what you expect. I've been on this good few days on the clip. Always more than what you think. But we're nice and cosy and snug in the workshop, even though it's freezing outside. Currently end of March we are now. I think we're on the 20th, and the 18th was Saturday, Sunday 19, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday 22nd. I think we are around that time, 22nd of March. Nice and snug in here, and a great place to work. Got a little bench set up over that side now, just underneath the Ford logo, with our 10 tools lighting up the bench nicely. So a nice cosy little work area over there. We've got the flaps back. I'll take you over before we finish. Flaps back for the heat diverter. You can see them just in, but they need some foam putting on, and we'll put that back together and wrap that up. Parts are still coming in. We've got some brake shoes there ready for when the calipers get fitted. The calipers, as you saw from Big Red, have been done. So looking great. And let's see what part 30 brings. Probably be bringing up an engine collection. We might include that in this video. I'll start editing this evening and see how long the film goes to, if there's a space for 10 minutes of picking up the engine, because that's now ready. The short block anyway is ready. We've got to get the cylinder head done. It's another job. But what I'd like to do is finish all the parts on the clip and push that to one side. We could do with really getting the pipes done for the power steering rack. I sliced them off. New pipes to be made. They're not brake line pipes, they're bigger diameter. And also we need to reassemble this when the head bolts come back for this from galvanising. They were a separate batch. Also the plate which fits over the top there, was done in gold passivate, so that was sent off as a separate batch. We're waiting for that to come back. Then we'll pull off them 4 bolts, grease and reassemble the seals into the power steering rack, fit the power steering boots after we've cleaned them up, and we can fit the track rod ends after that, bolt it all back together. We'll probably test the unit with a oil pump running. We're going to spin up the power steering pump with an electric motor and test that there's no leaks on this. I don't want to be fixing this any leaks on it when it's in the car, so this will get pressure tested to make sure it's running by spinning up the pump on a motor. Well, we could be calling it a day for now. Some footage for you just to keep you in the loop and keep YouTube viewers with some entertainment. Should be good for your weekend entertainment. This will probably be uploaded by Thursday, Friday. So we'll catch you in the next part. As always, thanks for the subscriptions and the comments and all the positive feedback that we get. It's really welcome. We'll keep moving. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep on going. It's over and out with possible engine inclusion. Depend on my editing tonight. Okay, if not, see you in next part, part 30. Over and out, all the best. See you from Cortina City. Good night. One last little note before I go. Anti-roll bar, front anti-roll bar, larger diameter one. I think it's 20mm. It's the bigger, beefier front roll bar anyway. I might just fit that before we leave. So we'll get these stabiliser uplink bars on, just so there's more bits on the clip so that when I finish this video the clip was almost done. So we might hold back and just finish off, because I'm expecting the brake rotors tomorrow, so why not finish this part with a built clip? It'd be a good way to finish off the video. So scrub that last comment saying over and out. I'll have to re-say it. We'll fit the stabiliser roll bar and we'll finish off this film showing the completed rotors, brake discs and calipers and the brake lines fitted, because I can probably do all that in a day and still get you up on target. Okay, so for now I'll just get these stabiliser bars and just refresh my memory on how they all fit. That's what I'm going to do for the next 20 minutes before I leave. Here we go. Okay, so here's a stabiliser bar, new old stock one. Well, it's a copy. There's one. They're very easy to fit. These, you've got a central rod going through it, and then a pair of bushes either end. Bottom end fit into the tie bar, which we fitted with those cup washers. So we tighten up 13 on the top and on the bottom, and that'll lock the bar together once it's all assembled. So you get your roll bar in the top, but we'll mock it up. We might be moving this because we're going to be working on the steering rack, but just to get it in place and so we know that we've got everything. So we're going to do the other side now, then lock it all together and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so anti-roll bar stabiliser linkage is on. We put plenty of grease on those, on the collar, on the bolt. I've bolted from the top because the air tool suited going down from underneath. It may be that they're normally from the top, but it would make sense that you withdraw the bolt downwards, so I've gone that way. Anti-roll bar there, the slightly thicker version, and then that other side. So it just compresses on a pair of rubbers there, quite easy for you to, if you're doing it at home, you forgot how it goes. It's just a washer, bolt first, washer, rubber, rubber, washer, collar, then the same again, washer, rubber, rubber, washer, then locking bolts. Don't worry that the track rod ends over, that should be under the roll bar, but that's coming out the steering rack, so it'll just slot under here and withdraw. But normally it'd be like this here, where you've got your track rod end attaches now to the end of the steering rack, and you're almost complete there with that stabiliser bar, that roll bar. So just the brakes to do, then all the components I think are all in one place, are all concentrated here for me to look at, and I can modify as I go along if I find that I've fitted something the wrong way round, but it gives us a chance to start focusing on it and refreshing our memory onto how the clip is all assembled. Hopefully this video can be of assistance to anyone restoring a car and rebuilding a clip. They might have forgotten how things go. I'm hopefully going to correct you if I'm wrong. Alright, so doing well. Let's get them brake rotors on and the calipers on and all fixed up. We'll do that tomorrow and that'll be the last part of the show. So finished now with stabiliser bar, roll bar linkages in place. I'm just looking at the clip from a distance, and I reckon the roll bar's upside down, but it doesn't matter, it's all in position, so we just swap that. Roll bar I think needs to be inverted, so just in case anyone spotted it, I think I'm on it. Might be wrong, but I think it's the wrong way. And we probably show the wheels as well. Well, here we are with some very nice Ross styles finished. Just look at the finish on these, really lovely, superb. So a nice set of 5 Ross style wheels there, courtesy of Rhino. So we're really pleased with how they've masked the detailing on this. Really good work, a great finish. So those wheels look $1 million, I think you'll agree. Superb work there. I'm really happy with them wheels. Set the car off nice. Okay, we said we'd take you in to finish part 30, not 29, as I've been getting it wrong. Don't worry about leaving a comment on me getting it wrong. This is part 30. I realised that when I was editing last night. Well, we're up to 1 hour 15, so I can just didn't want to go over 1.5 hours. But we packed plenty in for you. It's not like it's dull entertainment now, is it? There's always plenty of different angles and different things going on. Otherwise, I wouldn't have that much recording time. You see, if there was nothing to record, there'd be short films. But there's so much going on. Okay, so the discs have arrived as predicted today. 2 nice new discs. So we've arranged on the floor the remaining parts. So we're actually short of one component, which is, I'll just take you up to show you the part I'm short of. I have got one, but it's not been prepared. It hasn't been powder coated. It must have missed the box. And that's this little bracket here, which supports the flexi hose to the caliper. That bracket fits with a 13 head bolt onto the edge of your clip there. You have 2 of those. They're both handed. There's another one this side, and that's the one that's missing. And that one supports, let me show you what it supports, this brake splitter as well as the flexi hose. So it has the flexi hose and the splitter. Brake splitter goes on this side with the input from the bulkhead coming into it, then shooting off. It actually goes that way round. The top one goes down, over and down. The bottom one loops under and fits to that caliper. So that's how it works. Our other brake pipe fits on the end of here, loops round, and joins up that direction. So we're missing that part. We've got those, which are these fit on the caliper itself over there and support the other end of the brake hose. But we've got enough to put 95% of this back, maybe 98% of the clip back together. The roll bar was upside down, checked this morning on the other car, and the cup washers are the right way, so we're okay for the cup washers. Roll bar bushes, well, they fit on, I think the 20mm, but I haven't got the saddle clamp, because when I've gone for the bigger roll bar, it looks like the saddle clamp that holds these to the anti-roll bar brackets, which fit on the inside wing of the car, the inner wing. They're a bigger saddle by the looks of things, so I'm going to have to try and find some. I haven't got any, because I've never had a roll bar that size. I indeed don't even know how I'm going to get them. I'm presuming Mark 5, so I'm going to have to investigate that saddle clamp situation. In the meantime, we can now go ahead and build these brakes up. So let's get on. Let's fit the disc to that hub carrier there. Put the locking tabs on. I'll show you how we do that now. We'll clear a working space on the board and we'll get building. Got to keep it reasonably quick so that your video winds up nicely. Okay, here we go for brake build on part 30. Okay, we found some more bits and we're ready to start building up. I've found a few more missing parts that are needed, but what I've just done, these are locking tabs. Here's a new brake discs, the Borg and Beck actually, so they're quite nice. I'll take it across to the box. So they're always nice quality. So across we go, just finding the right bolts remembering what bolts that held it all together. Now this is your locking tab there. Now these don't look like they're going to break. You can only use them so many times, and then the tabs are no good, but that one's good. Now I had 4 done, or even 5, and I've lost the other 4 today. I had them before and they've gone. I had 4 before and they've gone. I have no idea where they've gone. I've just spent an hour trying to find those locking tabs. I cannot find them anywhere. They've put them somewhere and they've gone. So what I'm going to do because of that, I might have to order some new ones because it's going to be quicker to order new ones than it is to find them, and they'll probably turn up another time. You can get them new because they're a reusable item, simply because when you bend the tab over you're supposed to replace it. So because of that, these lock on the inside face of the hub. So what we'll do, we can assemble everything and then we'll just have to take the centre wheel nut off and pull the hubs off, and we won't torque these up. I'll just nip them up with a spanner, and then when we get the rest of those back, we'll take it off there and just refit them. So we'll just mock everything up. That means we've got all the parts assembled, and we'll call it a day for part 30. So first thing I'm going to do is bolt the brake disc or rotor, however you want to call it, to the back of the carrier that had the new race in it. So we'll do that now. Let's get that on. Simply just nip those up with a 17. Okay, with those bolts on, now we've put the seal in, the end of the seal here, which holds all the grease on the bearings. So that pops in that way round and taps in nicely. Just a touch of copper slip to help it in. We'll tap that on there, then we'll pack the bearings out with grease, and we can then lift that up onto the hub and put the wheel nut on, or the bearing nuts and castle nut, and just, we won't nip it up, it's just going on as a mock-up for now. Okay, let me just tap that in there. Okay, the packing grease is in, and now for the bearing seal. That's the top, so we just pop that in there, and that's that inner bearing done. So I just use a block of wood on the top, get an even force, and tap down. That's will go in, no problem. You can push it. We'll tap that in anyway. It's difficult with one hand, but I'll just get an even force applied to this. Tap it in nicely. Then we flip over. Okay, so the middle bearing's on as well. The outer bearing, the washer, the special washer. There's a washer with a little tab on it. Then the nut. Then we have a cage over there with a split pin through it, just like this. So we'll just put that on, and then that's that side. We can start putting the brake caliper into position. Obviously it's all got to come off again, but I've not nipped anything up tight, just putting things in position. So we shall now put on the castellated cage, split pin through it, and then we'll go about fitting the brake caliper. Okay, so all that's assembled now. End cap on there, bearing cap on, caliper bolted on. We found all the right nuts and bolts in the end to fit all those bits. That little bracket for the hose here, that forms locking tabs for the nuts on the end of the calipers. Brake pads in. Just got the 2 pad retaining springs to clip in. I can't quite work out how they clip in. They come with the brake pads, funny shaped springs, and they always get me. I'm going to have to go look that up. But we're okay there. Split pins in the end, so we're turning on that nicely. I've not nipped it up to the proper position, but it sits equally between the caliper faces, so we know that the bearing's nipped up, because when you first do a new bearing on, you've got to sort of over tighten it, then pull back, because it'll push it on to the taper. The bearings actually slide onto the taper under force. You'll feel the spanner come up. You need to do that with a torque wrench, so the next time we come to set that, we'll set that with a torque wrench, so we can torque that centre bolt up, and it can take up the slack on the taper bearings there. But we just mocked it all up, so that side pretty much in position now for the clip. That's how it all fits together if you're building at home. We found that bracket. Here's our brake splitter. mount on that bracket there, if you can see, and the flexi hose comes from the back of this and joins to the back of that flexi hose. You see those 2 points? That's what creates your loop. We've got one on this side here. When the caliper is fitted, that would create that loop there, see? But we're brake pipe short, need to order one. So you can just see how it makes it work. And then the back of here is solid piping linking round to the input. Pretty much a short little run. You've got an input and an output. Bleed nipple there, input. Bleed nipple always has to be at the top, by the way, for your calipers. Okay, so there we have it. You don't have an output on these, it's split. The brake line comes in and feeds twice off the splitter. What am I on about? No input and output. Well, it is got an output on the bleed nipple. Okay, so short little bit of mini hose goes across to the back of there. I'm sure also they have one that loops underneath. I seem to remember when I stripped the calipers down, there wasn't more than just a simple short piece there. I'm sure there was another piece of pipe. I need to look at what that possibly is. I might be wrong, going to consult, but anyway, we're almost in the zone with it all. That's how I wanted to be to end part 30 for you, and we reiterate that part 30 as I've done in the last 5 minutes. Made a big boo-boo with calling it 29. So we're all done. We're going to leave you here now till April. Weather's looking promising. It's looking like it's starting to warm up, everybody. So there's your nice bog and beck discs. There's your galvanised hubs. There's your galvanised big red calipers. There's your new Mintex pads on there, or TRW. There's your stabiliser bar. There's your track rod end. There's your bottom and top ball dumps. There's your wishbone. There's your spring. We're just short of the shockers, but they can fit in after. It's not a problem. The shockers are designed to be replaceable when the whole car's assembled. Yes, we need to be getting on with it. So I'll get the shock absorbers ordered, some Spax adjustables for this. In the meantime, we'll say goodnight to you in YouTube land. Get on there, subscribing, let us know what you thought. We'll be catching you in April for part 30. Part 31. I'm bugging it up again then, didn't I? Hasta la vista, baby. There might be a bulletin as well. If we're doing any shows as well, I'll announce the shows on the bulletins, just in case anyone wants to meet and greet at any of the shows. I don't know if I'm going to make NEC in March, not sure yet, possibly. Maybe going just as a foot passenger, and may not be taking any cars, but I might just go to get some parts and bits and the auto jumble and all that. So I'll Twitter that up if I'm going. Alright, so if you want to see if who's going at the shows, we've got a tweet feed going. I know it all sounds social media. I don't do social media much, certainly not any of the big things. Twitter's simply, yes, I'll be here at X, Y, Z. It's pretty much that's it. You don't get involved in any gossip on there. It's just X, Y and Z. It's handy for announcing bits and bobs and bulletin points. See you, part 31. Thanks again, everybody. Over and out for now. Cortina City, we got it. Let's go. Good night.